and welcome back to Life Without Cravings. This is episode 5 and I hope you're doing really well. So today I want to talk about something that keeps coming up both with clients and followers in my free Facebook group, and something that I've been struggling with myself a lot in the past, and that is how to say no to free food, right? That free food that is just there and it's kind of jumping at you, inserts itself into your mouth and forces you to eat it. If you have a problem with this, you pretty much know what I'm talking about. It's not rational. We somehow don't want to make a decision in the moment because it's there and we see some sort of value in eating it. So it just happens, right? So when we're presented with free food, there is often a compulsion to eat it just because it's free, even if you hadn't planned on eating it, and it might not even be something that you would ever go and buy, because it's not your kind of food. It's not the type of food that you particularly like, but it's edible. You just can eat it anyway, even if you're not hungry. It's crazy, but we do this. But all of a sudden, when that happens, you just feel like, oh my God, it's there and I really should have some of it, right? But let's call a spade and then have a look at how this happens, right? So you think that you're entitled to eating this food just because it's free. That's what we think, if we just scale it back. And that's complete bullcrap. It's just something that you have been telling yourself so many times that you now believe it to be true. And we can unlearn that. And I know for me, there is a connection between the food and value for me. My brain would tell me that I need to eat anyway, so it's a really good thing if I'm eating this thing, because then I don't have to eat as much at home, or maybe I don't have to eat at all, and I don't have to cook, or whatever it might be. So that means that I have now gained something that has value to me. And it's freely given, and all I have to do is accept it. And I'm going to be like, hell yes, give it to me. And I don't have to cook, I don't have to pay for my dinner. Oh, good. So it's a temptation that I don't want to turn down, simply because I don't have to give something up in order to get the benefit, or my brain perceives it to be a gain, something that I'm gaining from eating this free food. So when I allow myself to only see this side of the story, that food will become irresistible. It's going to be really, really hard for me to say no when that is all I'm thinking about. And this can show up in so many different places in our lives. One common place is obviously at work. If you are, especially if you're working in an office or something like that. So there might be donuts brought in every Friday, for example, or there's an office culture of when it's your birthday, you bring a cake. And maybe you have 20 people working there, maybe more. That's a lot of cake during a year. And you don't want to be rude, and it's free, and then you don't have to go and buy the cake yourself. So yeah, let's have some cake, right? It makes sense when you're thinking that way. Or it could be when you've been out for a meal and you walk up to the counter and you're gonna pay, and you have this little bowl on the side with these free mints. Like, oh my God, how many can I take out of that bowl before they see how many I take? And where's the limit? When are they going to think I'm greedy? Maybe I can take a handful when they're not looking at me. And you just get this compulsion, you just want them. But would you ever go and buy mints? Some people do, but definitely not everyone who will just take advantage of these free mints. Or let's say you are at the market and all the stalls have free food samples. Oh my God, I love that kind of food. I just need to taste this and I need to taste that. And that's interesting. I never had any of that before in my life before. Now I have to taste that too. So let's have a look at what's actually happening. So we have a pattern of thinking, which is very unhelpful to us. And it is possible to change this pattern, and I will tell you how. But first, I just want to point out that an urge or a craving to eat free food is just like any other craving for food. There is no difference. You might perceive it as more forceful or much stronger or more out of control, but they all have the same origin. It's always your thinking about this free food that creates that desire to eat it, or about any food that you have at home or whatever. And you think that you're entitled to have it. Yeah, we always think that we're entitled to have everything. We're entitled to never feel bad, and if we're not eating it, we're going to feel bad. And when it comes to free food, it's usually the belief that you are missing out on some kind of value if you're not having it. And if this is what's going on, of course you're going to want to eat that food no matter what. Because value is put right in front of you, even if it doesn't make any sense to eat it because you don't like it that much, but it's value and it's given to you for free. You're like, yeah, of course, it would be stupid to say no. So if this is where you're at and you're struggling with eating free food, even when you don't want to, I'm going to give you a few questions that you can ask yourself. And you can feel free to write them down and have a really good look at what's behind this desire to eat the free food. And so you don't have to do that right now, but you can just write the questions down. The first one is, what is the value of you eating this food? Because you're going to tell yourself that there's some sort of value in it. And your brain has been telling you that you're missing out on this value if you don't have it. But what is it exactly? So when you ask your brain this, often we think it's because we don't have to pay money for it. It's probably one of the things that would come up. So what is it that you think that you will gain from eating this food? You might have other things. For me, it's almost compulsory because it's free. I don't have to pay any money for it. But you might have a different thought here. And the next question you can ask yourself is, what do you miss out on if you don't eat it? But that's just a little bit different. Often, we don't have the answer to this question because there isn't really anything that we miss out on if we don't eat it. Sometimes we might go to social interactions, etc. But our brains just like telling us this stuff that we're going to miss out if we don't have it. But it will not provide you with any details of what it is that you will miss out on. So it's important to really question our brains when they do this to us. Don't trust them blindly. Just question what it is that you will miss out on if you're not eating it. And they will maybe go blank. You're like, hello? Anyone home? And they're like, nope, we're not going to answer that question. And then you know that you're onto something. Because if you can't answer this question, what are you scared of missing out on? Maybe it's just a thought that isn't even true. And then we can get rid of that thought. Another great question that you can ask yourself to give yourself some perspective is, what is the value of you not eating it? That's a fun one. So value is so much more than just monetary value. What do you gain if you don't eat it? So when you think about it, the only thing that you are getting out of eating it is the immediate pleasure that you get in the moment when you're eating it. But when you are not having it, how much value could you find in that? Is there value in you changing your habits? Or is there maybe value in you staying in control of your eating habits? Maybe there is value in becoming the person that you want to be. I think there is a lot more value in any of these, and I have clients pay me a lot of money to do these things. It has value in so many ways. And if you're being completely rational about this, whether the food is free or not, if you really want it, you can always get it later on. You can always go and buy this food when you have planned for it. So just because it's free doesn't mean that you have to have it right now, because there are many downsides to it. And if you instead can exercise the control of your diet, that might be more valuable than paying $1 for this food later on. Yeah. But the question also is, like, would you go and pay for it? Is it that valuable to you that you will go and buy this food at any other time? If the answer is no, you might want to question why it's valuable when it's free, but not if you have to pay for it. Doesn't make any sense, right? And a really good question that you should ask yourself is, how does eating free food impact my ability to reach my goal? If you think about it, every time you eat something that is free, you reinforce this association in your mind that when things are free, that is a good reason to eat them, even if you're not hungry, even if it's not anything that you would really like to eat. So it's just a neural pathway that you have reinforced many times, and that's going to come up as a habit, as something that you want to do, and with that is the urge to do it. So the more you do it, the stronger that neural pathway is going to be, and the stronger the urge to follow through with this behavior is going to be. You're going to feel more compelled to keep doing it the more times you are doing it. And the opposite, how does it feel, how does not eating food impact your ability to reach your goal? Right? What would it be like to be at work seeing those donuts and really feel like, I don't actually want one? What would that be like? Maybe that's really hard to imagine in the beginning. So what I do when my brain can't really comprehend of something like this, like I can't even imagine it, it just feels very alien to me, like that's not a possibility. I think about something else that I really don't care about. So I think about alcohol. I don't like it, I don't drink it, I don't want it, even if it's free. I never have. Well, maybe when I was a teenager, but then I decided this is not for me. I don't like it in any way, and I just stopped drinking. It has no value to me. It doesn't taste good. I don't particularly like the feeling of being drunk. It makes me tired, but when I'm trying to sleep, when I've been drinking, my sleep is really bad. So I'm going to wake up the next morning and I'm going to be tired. So I've spent 2 days being tired. And there's nothing compelling about that. Someone else might tell this story about alcohol in a very glorified way, about how fun it is and how good they feel when they're doing it, etc. For me, this is true, and this is what I want to keep believing. Why would I want to change that? I know that alcohol isn't good for my body. Or if you are struggling with that one, you can just go to, let's say you are a non-smoker. It might be that someone offers you a free smoke, and you would never even think about having a smoke just because it's free, because you're not someone who smokes. That's not how you identify yourself. It's not in you. You're not a smoker. Why would you smoke? Right? Or, in worst case, let's say that you like to drink, you like to smoke, you like to eat cake, you like to eat pizza, all of the things. If someone offered you free heroin, would you accept it just because you don't have to pay money for it? Just imagine if you had to buy heroin on the street, it would cost you a lot of money. Just think about all the money you would save by accepting that for free. And you will be like, no way. You would not do it because you don't see the value in saying yes. You only see the downside of heroin. Because you're not a person who does heroin, whether it's free or not. You wouldn't do it. So you can kind of transfer this kind of thinking to the situation of free food. And that's not necessarily easy to do the first time you try to do it, but if you answer those questions that I just asked you, I'm pretty sure that you can see how eating free food is not very good for you. It won't do you any good. And the only value in eating free food is the immediate pleasure that you are getting right in that moment. And then that's followed by a lot of negative thoughts or feelings because you didn't really want to do that. Which frankly, you would get temporary pleasure from heroin as well. But with heroin, you're not prepared to pay the consequences. But up until now, you have been prepared to pay the consequences of free food, but you've also been very frustrated with yourself and beating yourself up for doing it and for your weakness and having no willpower and all of the things that you're telling yourself. So the question is, do you want to be a person who is always eating free food just because it's free? If your answer is yes, nothing wrong with it. Just be honest with yourself. Like, if the answer is yes, then embrace that and just be that person who eats free food and be at peace with it. But if the answer is no, don't tell yourself that you kind of, yeah, I do want to do it, but I don't. Just like make your mind up. The worst thing you can do is stay in indecision, because then you're always going to beat yourself up. So to me, that's just a lose-lose situation. You don't want to do that. There is nothing for you to gain in that situation. So just be honest with yourself. But let's say if you really want to not eat the free food because it's free, what are you going to do? Like, change it. It's not harder than that. Just change it. Let's try something new that will make you feel a lot better and that will let you be the person that you want to be. You have had shitty thoughts about free food that isn't helping you, doesn't help you be who you want to be, it doesn't help you to behave the way that you want to be behaving. It doesn't help you probably have the body that you want to have. It doesn't help you in any way other than giving you very temporary relief. So let's think about this differently. Show your brain the other side of the coin, and the next time you're faced with free food, bring yourself back to this place, like where you know the value of not eating it just because it's free. Like, what is the value? If you answer the question, what is the value to me to not eat free food? And bring yourself back to that place. From that place, you can usually be prepared to trade that temporary discomfort for the long-term success that you will have, whatever that is for you. For me, there is extreme value in being able to control my brain and my body to do what I want it to do. I was always a bit of a control freak. Not when it comes to anything outside of me and other people, but when it comes to myself. I want to be able to control myself in every situation, and I can't do that 100% of the time, which is fine, but I can do that with food. And I want you to understand that that is just a skill that you can learn as well. You can get there, and there is extreme freedom and self-satisfaction in being able to do that. And it's just amazing, like the changes that we can make in our lives when we can see further than to just what's right in front of us. It's just a whole new world opening up. So if this is something that you really want to work on, if you want to be free from all compulsive eating and be in control of your life, and you're prepared to spend a few months improving your life to reach this state of complete freedom, just reach out. This is what I help all my clients do. Grow a pair of balls. Dare be the person that you want to be. Don't let this obsolete way of thinking stand in your way. Just take the next step. Send me an email and we can talk about it. And that was all that I had for you this week. So I will see you again next week. Bye.